Assalamu alaikum, Miss Joynob.
Walaikum assalam. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm great. Alhamdulillah. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm all right as well.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining me today in our discussion, the customization factor.
Sure. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. But before we get to the gist of the discussion, I would like to ask you some few questions.
Sure.
Okay, so there's a list. Okay, there's a banana, a bus, a lemon, and a carrot. Okay, in this list, which one is the odd man out and why?
Bus, because others are the fruits or the in the vegetable section, and bus is a vehicle.
Okay, all right, all right. Thank you, thank you. Both are correct. If you say carrot because it's orange, that's also correct.
Yeah,
And
but carrot is mostly classified in the vegetable section. That's why I said others are at least food. Bus is a vehicle.
okay, yes, it works. Okay, and another question I'd like to ask you is if there was one subject you'd like to completely erase from the face of the earth, what subject would it be?
Yeah, that is going to be very controversial now. So, okay, what I feel is history is kind of manipulated. So, if there's a war and one side won the war, another side lost, obviously, who wrote the history?
Decide which one.
Yes, so history is sometimes highly misunderstood. It does not give us the perspective of the other side. So history is written by winners. You cannot always come to conclusions with that. So this is highly debatable, and sometimes I feel that, okay, it was written by the winning side or the one who had more power, more money, more influence. So it is misunderstood a lot of the times.
Yes, that's really interesting, and I really agree with you. History is written by the winning side. Okay, now that we've warmed up a bit, let me ask you the main question. Do you have any preferences? I can ask you those ones. I don't want to.
You can choose.
I can choose.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay, Miss Joynob. When you are teaching online through a screen, you can't rely on physical classroom cues like a student looking around the room or whispering to a neighbor. How do you spot the subtle digital micro cues that tell you a student is silently struggling or confused?
By this time, I have developed quite a lot of ways to pick it up. First of all, of course, it is a face-to-face interaction. So their face gives it away that, okay, I think you're still confused. And sometimes the students, for the older students, it's actually good because older students are able to tell us where their problem lies. So a lot of the times, I have a student, he would literally say, that I sorry I zoned out. So that I very much you'd find that okay, I'm working so hard over here and you just zoned out. But on the other side, when I looked at it from a bit of depth, I understood that okay, that is appreciative. Thank you for admitting to that. So we understand. So the older students are better at it, whereas the younger ones, what they do is you can pick up their cues by listening carefully that they're typing something underneath, they're looking here, or they're just zoned out looking somewhere else. So their face and behavior gives it away. And a lot of the times, as these one-on-one sessions are mostly interactive, of course. I would ask something and the student must interact with me. So when the interaction is dry, I understand that okay, something is up. And when they come up with the constant responses, that is when I feel that, okay, so you are getting the point.
Yes, yes, I understand. So, with older kids, it's harder to notice, but with younger ones, it's easier. And with older kids, if they give you constant responses, you can feel that they are understanding. While with younger ones, it's much easier to understand from the their behavior, their facial reactions, right?
But at the same time, older students are mature. At this stage, they understand that they must study. It's a liability onto them. So I also appreciate their maturity on that of accepting that, okay, this is where my problem is. I need help with it. So a lot of the time, they come forth themselves that, okay, I got distracted. Sorry.
Okay, okay, that's really great that with age comes the understanding and maturity, and therefore they can ask the teachers where their lackings are and they can correct themselves. Okay, okay, the next question I'd like to ask you is this one. If you realize 15 minutes into an online lesson that a concept is completely going over a child's head, what does it actually look like to adapt a digital lesson on the fly? How do you instantly shift gears without making the student feel bad?
Okay, so there are different kind of ways I handle with this kind of situation. For the younger students, what I do is I revisit the same topic with a more fun related task. That okay, we should do something else right now. Something revisiting their previous topic so that they can get that courage within themselves that okay, I know this topic and regain their courage on it. So a bit of encouragement on that. That okay, yes. So build their confidence. And for the older students, there are different ways. So as for the GCSE candidates, let's say, there are sometimes subtopics. So if it's like a 10-mark question, obviously the steps require you to answer them correctly. So for example, if in math a student does not know a subtopic, we can shift to the other slide and say that, okay, let's revisit this topic. You might have forgotten, but let's revisit this. So I feel the most important part of it is not make the student feel stupid. Because at school, of course, the main reason they came to us is because at school they are unable to cope up in some manner. So they are unable, they might be shy or they're not finding it to ask it directly to the teachers, and that's why they come to us. So the drill is that you ask as many times as you need, and for our job is to make you believe that you are not stupid. You can do it. You are just lacking a bit of time. And every student has different pace. We cannot blame them on it. Some students are great at English, some students are great at math. So I have some students who would not even grasp some harder topics like vectors, but then they're amazing at multiplication. They can multiply thousands numbers with another thousand numbers and even numbers with another one. And in a jiffy, they would do amazing in it. But while I know for a fact that they struggle in English. So every student's strength lies somewhere, right? So our job is to find it out and anchor it the right way, I think.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Miss Joynob, for building the confidence of these students whenever they're doubting themselves and going back to their foundation blocks to understand where the missing foundations are. And not only that, you understand that every child has different learning abilities and it's normal to have an uneven learning curve for every kid. Like you told me, some of them are very good at multiplication. So thank you so much for customizing the lesson for these students according to what they need. We really appreciate it.
Your pleasure, always a pleasure.
Okay. Thank you, teacher Joinab. Okay. Merit Tutors, your child, our responsibility.